Garry's mod gets striked down, the Fallout 4 update basically bombs, and Niantic perfectly displays how not to treat your player base. I'm Ash Dixon, and this is Jinx News. Garry's mod will sadly never be the same. Nintendo has issued a DMCA strike against all the Nintendo-related content created by users, and as you can imagine, there's an absolute ton of it. From a legal standpoint, Nintendo are well within their rights to do this, but it's going to be a very strange place without cursed Mario and Luigi models doing very strange things. And it does seem weird that this DMCA has been issued now, you know, over a decade after the peak of Garry's mod. And that led many to believe that it wasn't actually Nintendo that did this. In fact, for the last few months, some troll using the name Aaron Peters has been falsely flagging content creator add-ons on the Steam Workshop, all while claiming he's part of Nintendo. Sadly, creator Garry Newman has confirmed that this time it is, in fact, Nintendo, so who knows, it might have been this impersonating troll that finally drew their attention. But also, Nintendo being like 15 years behind the curve on these things is definitely on brand. And now comes the mammoth task of deleting thousands of items of content. The developers Facepunch released a statement and ended it with the joke, if you want to help us by deleting your Nintendo related uploads and never uploading them again, that would help us a lot. Now, I'm curious if Nintendo will stop here, because if you're Roblox right now, you've got to be feeling a little bit nervous. And if other companies decide to follow suit, well, that would quickly become one historically big mess. Let us know your thoughts though. Should Nintendo have just let this one slide? Should they go for Roblox next? Hit us up in the comments. By now, you've likely finished the Fallout TV show, thoroughly enjoyed it, and now you're coming to grips with your newfound ghoul-like hunger for more Fallout content. Lucky for you, the free next-gen update for Fallout 4 has just dropped. That means for Xbox Series X and S and PS5, it now has its own native application, with performance mode hitting up to 60 FPS and the quality mode providing that sweet 4K. Though it should be noted here, it's only available for those who have bought the game, meaning if you've added it to your PlayStation library through PlayStation Plus, well, you'll have to rustle up $20 for the pleasure. And people on PC are pretty disappointed too. Despite the update being over 14 gigabytes in size, there's no graphical improvements and it'll break your modded saves. So despite the years waiting for this, at least on PC, it seems we once again have to rely on the modding community to really snazz up the game. And speaking of snazzy content, we have a load on our Patreon called Jinx Plus. It massively helps support the channel if you were to join, and there's even a free tier too. Otherwise, those like and subscribe buttons are just sitting there waiting to be clicked. Over to a familiar story now, and not just because we kind of covered it last week. Last Friday, we told you all about how Pokemon Go players were disgusted by the new avatars, how they went from admittedly pretty basic but distinguishable figures to whatever this androgynous monstrosity is. Well, one Pokemon Go player took their disgruntledness and went straight to Niantic themselves. Redditor the Literal Cat contacted customer support to say that the power pose that they had paid for looks like such garbage that they wanted a refund. They said that their avatar's hands are hovering over the hips instead of actually touching them, and that it looks awful and wrong. The pose cost 500 Pokecoins, which is worth about $5 in real-world currency. Not life-changing money, but enough to be annoyed at shelling out for one of these abominations. Well, Niantic responded that they'd look into the request, but we all know what that really means. Nothing. So the Literal Cat seemingly gave up and asked for the conversation to be ended, only to be told by Niantic that their account has violated the terms of service. Now, I get that these are all pre-programmed responses and that it's all just bot spam, but like, how could you get this so wrong? A player has come to you with a legit concern, and not only do you ignore them for a fair old while, but then you ban them when they give up on their complaint. Like Niantic could do with a win right now, because let's face it, these avatars are f***ing dog shit. But when they add flame to the fire with this kind of behavior, it's just a reminder that when a company fails to respect its player base, just don't give them your money. It's time now for the Quickfire Round, and we're going to start in the realm of the FPS, or more specifically, about a new bundle for Escape from Tarkov. It's called the Unheard Edition, which contains access to the PvE co-op mode and a load of upgrades that give players an advantage when they play. Well, fans are justifiably f***ed off. Why? Because it also costs $250. To add salt to the wound, there was a previous DLC called the Edge of Darkness Edition, which included a season pass that promised access to all future DLC. Turns out, That was a lie that itself cost $100. So if any of you play Tarkov, you might want to wait a few months for the next edition, which will probably cost like $1,000. Over to Xbox now, and they've had a record third quarter thanks largely to the Activision Blizzard purchase. Between January and March, content and service revenue rose by over 60%. Games like World of Warcraft, Diablo, Overwatch 2, and Call of Duty have helped revenue rise by over 50% from the previous year, which have arrived just in time as Xbox hardware sales continue to go down the drain. And speaking of ActiBlizz, BlizzCon has been cancelled this year, which makes sense considering I don't really see them having much to announce. We all know what the next 3 WoW expansions are. Diablo 4 has its first DLC this year, and Overwatch 2 is, well, Overwatch 2. Still, for some, it's just an opportunity to hang out with other fans and get the chance to speak with developers. So while this will be sad news for them, I'm fairly confident it'll be back next year. And we'll be back next week, on Monday specifically. Have a great weekend.